Hello, friends. Welcome in. It is Election Day, Tuesday, November 5. Did you hear that? I sounded a moment ago. That was me yesterday. I sounded like a Muppet. That's Muppet Matt.
That's specifically why I used it.
On Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I could see the character in my head.
Yeah. Muppet Matt. More on that coming up when it's not Election Day. Hello and welcome in. Happy afternoon to all of you. It is 12:06 officially. We can say a good afternoon to you. It's Libertarian Lunch on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. How you feeling? You feeling good? Everything going well today? Everything popping for you today? I don't know. I have a natural pessimistic shadow over my head, but I think the optimism might break through at some point, much like the sun might break through the clouds over the Music City at some point today, and we'll see that sunshine and that sunrise rise tomorrow as Donald J. Trump is selected as the 47th president of the United States of America. I fight against my pessimism, and I swing back and forth. As I said yesterday, expect this to be the case over the next 24 to 36 hours, where Matt Murphy fights against his natural pessimism and what he thinks could happen and swings back to what he thinks will happen and what he thinks should happen. And we will discuss together today on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As I do every election day, as I do every election season, politicians are invited to call, just like the regular listening audience is invited to as well. I'm much more interested in hearing from the listening audience about what you're experiencing at your polling station if you happen to be voting on Election Day. I was just talking to Chris Hand, and I understand Hand's premise as to why you should vote on Election Day. I also understand that I got a call this morning from a sitting congressman in the state of Alabama telling me about grandmas going home because voting lines were 2 hours long, which is my fear as to what's going to happen today if the voting lines are too long. Now, one would expect that those are happening in more Republican areas, perhaps, and so it will not impact the election results. However, it concerns me. Every little aspect of this election concerns me. The possibility of putting your thumb on the scale in certain areas of the country, the possibility of voter shenanigans with regard to machines not working and other county issues that might turn into shenanigans if we allow it. Turnout is such an important factor. The abortion issue is such an important factor, even though we might not want it to be. Issues are a factor, and turnout is always the most important thing. Today, throughout the course of the day, for those of you who would consider yourself, we use a term in the business, P1s. That means the people that are most invested in their lives and in their politics, and on a day-to-day basis, they will tune into Super Talk 99.7 WTN, whether it's Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson, Mark Levin, and all through the evening into Red Hour Radio. Well, for those of you who have been paying most attention, you will no doubt turn us on. You'll flip over to Fox News, perhaps, or to Newsmax, News Nation, maybe even go into enemy territory and flip over to hashtag NeverCNN or one of those garbage liberal networks. And all over these networks, all across America, you'll hear people telling you what's going to happen, what they believe is going to happen. I don't begrudge any of this, and I don't begrudge any pundit telling a listening audience or a viewing audience what they believe will happen over the course of this night and over the next several days. But all I can do is get it down to where the goats can graze on it and tell you the truth. And it is without judgment. And truly, and frankly, I'll do it as well. I'll tell you as well. But I'm going to tell you, all we're doing is telling you where our gut is on this. And that's all you've got as well. Because we truly don't know. I don't know if the polls are right or not. You don't either. I don't know what's going to happen in Georgia or North Carolina or Pennsylvania. You don't either. I don't know what the electoral map will look like tonight or in the morning or the next day. I don't know what lawsuits will ensue. I don't know what type of efforts will be made on the part of Republicans or Democrats or independents. Nor do you. But I know this. I know I believe in the United States of America. And I think most Americans, given the opportunity to sit down and talk about issues that matter to them, if we really cut away from the groupthink, if we cut away from the vilification of a politician across a political aisle or across a political stage, and if we get down to where the bones are, I'm talking about the bones of the United States of America. I think most Americans still hold to that American dream, which is not so much about a 3-bedroom house and a white picket fence. It's about freedom of opportunity. The United States of America did not live up to our dream for most of our existence. But we have, in my lifetime, every moment that I've been alive, I believe that this country has strived for it. And when I listen to pundits talk about a decision point in America and whether or not this will be the last true election in the United States of America, that's what they're talking about, is whether or not we have the chance to go and vote for those values that we hold true. Now, I'm not a Pollyanna, and I'm not here to tell you that many people have lost their way. Look, as we navigate this thing known as life, there are a lot of things that can get us off course. You know, I'm reminded of an Andy Griffith episode where Andy Griffith is talking to it was Buddy Ebsen, the guy that floated, the drifter that floated into town and believed that Opie should be able to decide for himself how he wants to live his life. And Andy said, no, you can't let a child do those things. A child will snatch at the first shiny thing that the child sees, and before you know it, it's too late when they find out that there's a hook in it. I feel like America has become that. That sadly politicians, through their desire for power and control, wave shiny things in front of good people, and those good people make the decision to snatch up those shiny things, not recognizing that there's a hook in it. Those aren't evil people. Remind yourself that those aren't evil people. There are people, and I know maybe you don't want to hear it, but I'm compelled to say it. There are people that are voting for Kamala Harris today that aren't bad people. They just got caught up in the shiny object, and they snatched at it. And they don't know that there's a hook in it. And here's the hook: power and control, and a certainty that you don't have to fight for votes any longer. That's what's at stake during this election. I know Donald Trump is off-putting to a lot of people. I don't care. Or at least I care only as much as it keeps them from voting for him. Because I do believe if we agree on certain American values and the premise of the United States of America as a land of true opportunity, as a meritocracy, as a place where we might all start from the spirit of equality, but our hard work, our merit, our talent can take us anywhere we want to go with a lot of hard work and maybe a little luck. If you overlay every modern issue over those types of values, Donald Trump comes out the winner. But I'm here to tell you that I don't know that that's going to happen. Nor do you. Nor does anyone else. What we rely on is our sense that God gave us, our wisdom that life presents to us, and our gut. My gut tells me that that America is going to take a stand. America will take a stand against the concept of groupthink. America will take a stand in favor of our sovereignty. America will say no more to the vilification of those who think slightly differently than you. America will take a stand against a mainstream Washington, D.C., New York City-based media cabal that believes that they know better and that they can decide for you. America will take a stand against a flood of activity all across our borders that is permitted and designed to take away your power and control at the voting booth. America will take a stand for free thought, for liberty and independence of a burdensome, bloated, irresponsible, controlling federal government. I have to believe that for a lot of reasons. One, because I don't have any children of my own, but I want your children and your grandchildren to understand the premise and the promise of the United States of America. I really do. It saddens me to consider that there will be a time, and maybe we've already experienced it, that children don't grow up understanding that we are a special place. I'm saddened that there are so many prominent names across this country that would suggest otherwise. I'm saddened that it is a regular media trope. It is a regular message on the part of the political left that America is a bad place. We have bad people. We've done bad things. But America is the greatest nation ever devised by human beings. And I sincerely fear that we are going down a trajectory where we lose that. We are not guaranteed it. We have to fight for it. Are we fighting for it? Can we save it? Everything the media and the political left say about Donald Trump, they're doing. Everything they tell us that he wants to be, they are. All the things that they claim will happen if he becomes the next president of the United States, they will do. I don't pretend that your lives depend on your vote. I know that's an easy thing to say. But I will tell you with every fiber of my being, I believe that your nation does. That's my closing argument. That's a guy that's on the fence with regard to where his gut's telling him that all of this is going to go. I don't know. I wish I did. I really do. I wish I had the confidence that some do. If you made me pick, I pick Trump because I believe in America. If you made me pick, I will tell you I know exactly what's going to happen and how it's going to lay out, and we'll cover every moment of it for you tonight. And I promise to be less dramatic when we do. Oh, well, okay, I can't make that promise. Maybe I will be dramatic. I just have to believe that there are enough smart people in this country that can overcome the demonization and the vilification of a different set of ideas, of a different set of thought processes. And I'll tell you how they do it. And if you think I'm overstating the case, they're already doing it. Elon Musk laid this out last night with Joe Rogan so eloquently, so well. You allow people here, you push them into the swing states, many of which allow for non-identification voter registration. And even if it doesn't happen this time around, or if it happens next time around, you permanently alter those swing states and turn them blue. Then you don't have to worry about whether you win presidential elections anymore. And for the most part, you don't have to worry about the United States Senate or even the Congress of the United States of America. And at that stage, you turn America into, over the course of the next 20 years, California. How is California doing? And as Musk said last night, I'll play the clip, the problem is it's far, far worse than California because you have nowhere to run. At least when California engaged in this activity and we saw the results, we see the results. people had a place to flee. You could go to Texas, or you could go to Tennessee, or you could go to Florida, or you could go to any state of your choosing not named California. When America turns blue, when America allows unfettered illegal immigration, when America goes soft on crime, when America punishes the doers and rewards the non-doers, where are you going to run to? There will be no place to hide. That's what's at stake today. That's what my gut tells me. We'll take your calls in a moment. We'll introduce the players of the show. We'll get we got a title to deal with. We got Locks for Trump going on. It's Election Day. And believe it or not, as dramatic as all of that sound, I can be as excited as the next guy about what's going to happen tonight. I choose optimism over pessimism. And I do believe that good things can happen this evening. We'll tell you all about what we're doing tonight. Believe it or not, I just got a text message. Hey, where are you guys going to be tonight? I'm not faulting you. I understand it's a busy world, a busy life. We've been talking about it. I'll tell you everything that you need to know coming up in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. I mentioned the dangerous world that is Defend Systems. The dangerous world that is the United States of America. Defend Systems is your one-stop shop for all things security when it comes to your place of business, your school, your church, or any place that people gather, really. Defend Systems is in Middle Tennessee. They're a life safety and security consultation firm based right here, and they're great at what they do. You hear from Brink Fiddler all the time, Gloria, the rest of the team, Tracy, Adam, and the rest of the crew. Active shooter response training, workplace violence prevention, site surveys, threat assessment, security consultation, all developed specific to your facility. Reach out today at 615-236-6484. 615-236-6484, defensesystems.com. That's defensesystems.com. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Coin. You know, it is the conservatives' credit card, and I love talking about it because it's a way to get into the fight above and beyond getting out and voting today. You know, the conservative credit card means that they're not going to funnel money to the left or the woke causes that sometimes the left advances. Coin advances conservative values and conservative charity. Don't take it from me. Look it up. I did my homework, and I believe in Coin. Earn cash back while fighting back. Apply now at coin.com. That's COIGN.com. Spell it correctly. Coin.com. COIGN.com. For Coin, go to coin.com/disclosures for full details.
Got a crash 24 westbound right before the Clay Lick Road overpass. Stop-and-go traffic starting at Old Hickory Boulevard. Former President Trump casting his ballot in Palm Beach this morning puts it right back on a reporter who asked him about violence. We'll let you hear it at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Kid Waver. Hey, Kid Waver.
Yes, sir, Brother Murphy.
I started getting off on my monologue. I forgot to say hello. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good, dude. I'm ready for today.
It's going to be a great day.
Oh, man, I'm having a blast right now.
Already a great day. Already a great day. You got big plans in News Closet for tonight, huh?
I got big plans in the news closet tonight, man. I'm going to be reporting numbers. I'm going to reporting incidents if there are any.
Let's hope not.
And let's hope not.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be here for it.
What about, what are we hearing about lines? Are we getting long lines? I'm hearing long lines. I'm hearing a lot of people voting today.
I'm hearing long lines in other places. In Nashville, I'm not hearing long lines.
Huh.
I pit folks getting in and getting out in relatively good order.
Oh, or maybe they're staying home. I mean, I don't know. That's your choice, too. I mean, there are three options here. I mean, you know, if you're, well, I guess there's more than three if you count some of the independent candidates or the Green Party candidate. But like for president of the United States, you got more than just a few options. You can choose to stay home if you want. I don't encourage it.
No.
But you know what? That's your choice, too. I guess that's an option.
Well,
We'll
know,
see.
men and women have died for that option.
I guess so. That's
and
right.
I guess they died for both of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'll tell you, I started the show by saying this, and I mean it sincerely. I do not agree with just about any policy position of the political left. And I believe what the political left is doing to try to steal away our individual liberties and rights is shameful and anti-American. I believe that. And I can make that argument. But I will never tell you that there are not good people that go to the polls and vote for Kamala Harris. I would suggest to you that perhaps they've been led astray, or maybe they've been duped, or maybe they're just they just see the world differently than I do, or want to, as Barack Obama said in 2008, fundamentally transform the United States of America. I mean, all those things can be true. But it is sacrosanct that we have the ability to make these decisions for ourselves individually, and then those decisions are collected and counted, and then collectively the states themselves determine which slate of electors will determine the next president of the United States of America. I'm excited about it. I think there's, I'm not breaking any news here when I tell you there's pretty much three options for tonight. Either you're going to see a Trump blowout significant enough, and I'm going to rank these three options in order of possibility of happening. We see a Trump blowout significant enough that Trump gets declared the winner tonight, even with lawfare or whatever. I mean, if you see a margin... So if you see a margin of victory in some of these battleground states enough to overcome any sort of election lawfare where you file in civil court or whatever, then Trump will be declared the victor if you can overcome that margin. That's a possibility. The possibility on the same side or on the different side of the coin that Kamala Harris is declared the victor for the same reasons. And then, of course, the too close to call scenario, where you've got either two or three states or just one that would tip the Electoral College toward one candidate or another that's simply too close to call. If I had to guess, I would suggest that state would be Pennsylvania, but I don't know. If you made me rank what I think the most likely thing to happen, I think the most likely thing to happen is that we get stuck in Pennsylvania and we can't work out the Electoral College till they figure out Pennsylvania. Second on that list is a Trump landslide. Trump wins Georgia, North Carolina. The polls are completely skewed in her favor. and even wins. I mean, I know Hand is big on Virginia. I'm not so big on Virginia. There are way too many federal employees that live in Richmond, and there are way too many federal employees that live just across the border of Washington, D.C., into Virginia, into Alexandria, and some of the other suburbs, Falls Church and the like. And those federal employees believe that Trump is a problem. I hope that it's a long night and the last 3 hours of it is a big party. That's what I hope. I believe that it will be a long night and nothing will be decided when we hand over to Red Eye Radio at midnight tonight. I also believe that I'm looking at the clock and it's 12:30, and it's time for Ken Weaver's Newscast on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Got that full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. And a reminder, we've got a crash, 24 westbound. This is in Whites Creek, right before the Clay Lick Road overpass. It is backed up to Old Hickory Boulevard North. Election 2024, former President Trump this morning casting his ballot in Palm Beach, taking questions, pushing back on one particular reporter's question about violence.
I certainly don't want any violence, but I certainly don't have to tell. These are great people. These are people that believe in no violence. Unlike your question, you believe in violence.
Here in Nashville, the FBI's field office has an election command post set up, working with local, state, federal partners, they say, to respond if there's trouble or fraud. Meanwhile, Channel 4's Marissa Sulik is out there gauging voter turnout.
The Election Commission is expecting this morning, they said as of 11, they are seeing higher voter turnout numbers than the 2020 election, but not as many as 2016. They take the numbers from their largest polling locations in each of the 35 districts. We spoke with some voters today who say this turnout was expected.
I think it's probably the biggest election we've ever had, because I do feel like the parties are so different now than even they were 4 years ago.
Now, a reminder, if you are heading to come to the polls to vote, you do need a picture ID. The polls will close at 7 p.m. You should be sure you're in line at that point. And so far, the weather's been holding up. It's been a bit breezy. We have not seen any rain, but that does help when it is a little bit warmer to see more people out here.
Elsewhere in America, Fox News says voting hours have been extended in a Pennsylvania county after a malfunction, according to officials, prevented voters in Cambria County from scanning ballots. The polls there will be open until 9 o'clock Middle Tennessee tonight in Pennsylvania. And in Arizona, elections officials say things are going smoothly, but it may take some time for them to get official results. Secretary of State Adrian Font says day of voting results will take a couple of more days.
When you see those 8 p.m. numbers tonight, many of our counties are estimating that we'll be at about 55% of our total. That will not include election day voters, and it will not include those voters who turned in their early ballots today or within the last day or so.
Yeah, official results aren't expected in Arizona. That's official results for at least another 10 days. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hello, friends. It's Matt Murphy for Efficient Heating and Cooling. My man, Jeff Eddy, wants to come out to your house and fix that heater if you've got a problem with it. Now, if you've not maintained the heating unit just yet, you still have time. I mean, obviously, we have got still pretty warm conditions out of doors, even into the month of November. Still time to maintenance the unit. $125 will be the most you will ever pay, no matter how many heating units you have at your residence. That's because Jeff Eddy he doesn't want to charge you an arm and a leg. He keeps those prices low, and oftentimes it's significantly less than $125. He just likes to tell you what the cap is. Secondarily, if it's time to replace, he'll only tell you to replace when it's time. They are an Elite Pro partner with Rheem, and they can recommend a good heating unit for you for that replacement adventure. Go to efficientheatingandcooling.com at the website, or I'm sorry, not .com, .net. It's efficient efficienthvac.net. That's the website, efficienthvac.net, or call 615-784-4424, 784-4424 for our friends at Efficient. What's happening, guys? It's Matt Murphy for PAI Medical, the We Grow Hair people. So I did not know that my hair was thinning. I knew that I had a cowlick on the crown of my head, but around that cowlick there was some thinning going on, and the professionals at PAI Medical noticed it. That's when I learned that you can lose up to 50% of your hair, man, before you actually notice the thinning. If that's happening to you, or if you think it might be happening to you, you owe yourself a visit to PAI Medical so they can recommend perhaps what they did for me, the FDA-approved laser treatments that make your hair thicker, fuller, prevent any further hair loss, and you don't have to worry about it moving down the road. And for those of you who watch on Super Talk TV, you see it every single day. You've seen it growing for 248 days during the Locks for Trump. So whether you're just beginning to lose your hair or perhaps it's something that you've been worried about for a while, they have a procedure for you. And many of these procedures are guaranteed, like the ARTIS robotic FUE hair transplant procedure. Call today at 615-376-6010, 615-376-6010, or go to WeGrowHair.com. That's WeGrowHair.com. A lot of interaction on the Super Text line. Give us a holler, 615-737-9986. And a lot of interaction on my text always blows up on Election Day from folks I haven't heard from time to time over the years. They want to know what my thoughts are, what my feelings are. I mean, I got a text from, you guys know Greg McElroy? I know Greg from my days back in Birmingham. He a noted analyst on college football Saturdays. I think he's working ABC. I think he's the second booth in ABC now.
I've heard the name before.
Oh, yeah, Greg, and he hosts a show down in Birmingham. We were in the same building for a long time, and he hits me up on Election Day, every Election Day. What's going to happen, Murph? And I try to tell him, and, basically what I told him is what I just told you. I don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, your thoughts, I'm interested in them on the Libertarian Lunchtime Hour, 615-737-9986 if you want to jump on board on the phone lines. It is, as I mentioned, Locks for Trump Day 248. It's Election Day. It is our episode 687 of our visits together on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Bell K chooses not to participate on the television side of things, much to our chagrin.
I got warrants, people.
That's what he tells us, warrants and the like. Although I think I have an ally now in the get Bell to participate on the Super Talk television side of things.
It won't help. Who is it?
It's I met her on Saturday.
Yeah, that won't help.
She said she thinks you have a face for TV, much like Ken Weaver and I do not.
I got a face for her to throw a blanket over.
Well,
that's what I got.
That's probably to get that mouth closed.
Probably. She does say I talk too much.
Well, I mean, just tell her to listen to me and she'll appreciate what she's got. I mean, you know what I mean? Episode 687 on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch is entitled
Matt Murphy Show, Slow News Day. We talk movies and TV for 3 hours.
If you're observing the studios, we've made some dramatic changes in the studio as they came in yesterday afternoon and declared that they had to take a lot of our backdrop for the big party tonight. So we don't have our typical Super Talk backdrop. We don't have either the multi-color, the thing on the side or the thing in behind us. So we've had to do some arranging. We
No
put up
step
the
on Snick.
We put up the "Don't Tread on Me" sign, and then I am told that if you look, is my camera shot up there? Can you see Trump over my shoulder?
Oh, yeah.
There we go. That's what we're looking for. A little Trump, overlooking the proceedings today, making sure that there are no shenanigans, no vote stealing on the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Got your mug shut right here.
Mm-hmm. So Brian is next up. First up, really, in Fayetteville with his thoughts on what is going down today. Brian, what do you got?
Haven't heard anything in the news reports about a individual in Columbia, Tennessee, that was picked up by the FBI for a possible terror plot against the electrical grid.
Reported it yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, we've been reporting it for 24 hours.
Okay, I've never heard it in and out a lot, but none of the local stations, except for a small blurb, showed it.
Well, we're a local station, and we've been doing it. I can't control them, but I mean, no, you're right. I mean, this guy, I was reading the story yesterday, and I actually heard Ken Weaver report on it yesterday afternoon. So, but you're right to bring it up, Brian, that this fella was in communication. It was kind of a setup by FBI informants and inside agents where he was communicating with those guys, thought that he was dealing with fellow terrorists, domestic terrorists, but he was actually dealing with the FBI, and eventually he was arrested for attempting to put together a drone bomb of some sort out of Colombia.
Yeah. When I made reference, I meant the video stations out of Nashville.
Well, it's all good. I mean, I don't know that I trust those guys as far as I can throw them. I would imagine that they've been reporting on it, but I don't know. I don't watch enough to comment on that. But, we've been trying to let folks know. What are your thoughts on it, Brian? I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, there's too many variables that are not known, and somebody could have put a bug in his ear about, hey, something needs to be done, and I trust the FBI about as far as I could throw a semi. So I have no idea.
Well,
I mean,
perhaps one of the reasons, and I can only speak for me in this regard, Brian, but one of the reasons that you don't hear me offering a lot of opinion or comment about something like this is I try to make sure that I understand the facts of a situation before I comment on it. I don't want to assume.
I don't understand.
I mean, there's a lot of bad that happens with the FBI with regard to Washington, D.C. and the Department of Justice. But there are a lot of good things that they do in the field and on the ground to prevent Americans from being harmed from bad people. So I don't know what this is as of yet. But I tell you what I will do when we get off the phone. I'll make sure that everyone listening to this radio station understands the details as we know it right now. How about that?
That sounds great.
Awesome. Brian, I appreciate you bringing it up. Biden-Harris Department of Justice announced the arrest of a 24-year-old by the name of Skylar Filippi, who prosecutors claim plotted to use a weapon of mass destruction to bomb a Nashville energy facility in part of what Attorney General Merrick Garland called a violent, quote, white supremacist ideology. In his Monday statement, the Attorney General revealed, quote, the FBI had already compromised the plot, and charging documents reveal the federal agency first gained knowledge of Filippi in June. Timing on this is interesting. That's just my first thought on those first two paragraphs. I'm reading from an article in the Tennessee Star right now. Federal filing in the case, Filippi reveals a confidential human source who had a previous relationship with the FBI, began reporting conversations with Filippi. It sounds like this was a sting operation, and somebody with the FBI was trolling online, and they found him a fish, and they hooked one. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't mean that Filippi didn't engage in bad things and tried to do bad things to good people. I'm just offering, once again, my initial opinion on it. So, confidential source fishes around online, strikes up conversations with Filippi around June, when he allegedly expressed, quote, desire to commit a mass shooting at a YMCA facility somewhere around his hometown of Columbia, Tennessee. According to the federal government, Felipe was then passed from that confidential source to another confidential human source who lived closer to the 24-year-old and was able to meet Felipe in person. By July 17th, the indictment revealed Felipe was communicating with the second confidential source via telephone calls that were recorded by the FBI asset and specifically discussed plans to attack 9 or more electrical substations to, quote, shock the system. Yeah, I have a lot of questions too, Brian, based on this reporting by the Tennessee Star. But, I mean, who brought up this idea? How was it brought up? I mean, remember that Gretchen Whitmer plot in Michigan? Where it turned out every idea that came to fruition was brought up by the FBI, every single one of them. Like a bunch of rubes sitting around talking about what they'd do if they had oh man, I would just take out and I'd do this and I'd do that. Hey, what about kidnapping that governor? That sounds like a good idea. During the phone call on July 17th, or during a phone call on that date that was not recorded, according to the DOJ. Why would they not be recording every telephone call? I'm just asking questions as I read the article. The DOJ claims Felipe and confidential human resource number 2 discussed, quote, stealing a train derailleur for the purpose of derailing a train. The next month, the filing reveals that CHS2 introduced Felipe to an undercover FBI agent for an in-person meeting, where Felipe allegedly told the undercover agent about a manifesto outlining his anti-Semitic and white supremacist views, specifically expressing a desire to attack high-tax cities or industrial areas so that they lose money. It says the quote was, to let the bleep lose money, and the bleep starts with a K, and I have no idea what that word would be, honestly.
Jewish slur?
That's the only thing I can come up with. Maybe. So that would be the anti-Semitic part. 2 more undercover FBI agents were introduced to Felipe in September when he allegedly discussed plans to build a drone for the purpose of attacking an energy facility and apparently claimed to have associates who might help with the scheme. The FBI, man, oh man, the FBI used a tremendous amount of resources to convince this individual to engage in illegal behavior. That's my first takeaway. FBI claims Felipe confirmed his intention to attack Nashville during a September meeting. He allegedly told the undercover agent, I definitely want to hit Nashville, like 100%. I want to get Nashville. He allegedly continued to communicate with the undercover agents about the plot for weeks, beginning to issue orders to the undercover agents about how they should dress for the attack by September 28th. Throughout October, the FBI claims Felipe continued to inform the agents about his plan's progress, including the procurement of black powder on October 10th and the selection of November 2nd or November 3rd. Confirmation by the federal government of its significant involvement in producing the case against Felipe comes after the federal agency was criticized for a similar level of involvement in the plot to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan. The plot similarly boasted a group of collaborators that largely contained federal agents. So, look, you cannot plot to engage in this type of activity with anyone. And this guy obviously thought he was with collaborators, and he was plotting with a bunch of FBI agents online. Take that for what it's worth. That's what we know. Brian, I hope that satisfies and satiates your curiosity. All we can do on our 100,000-watt platform is report what we know. Ken Weaver's been doing so in the newsroom. I tried to do so just now. I don't really control what the news organizations on television news report or don't report. I wish I did. I wish I did. Phil Williams would be out of a job if I did. But he's very popular amongst the liberals. Steve will get to you in a moment. It's 10 minutes until the top of the hour. Reset where we are on the election. I've got my Electoral college map. I'm very excited about this next hour where I'll break down the possibilities of what could happen. Every single scenario, all 187,000 of them, coming up next on Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
WTN app.
Do you find yourself in pain? If you're living in pain, the possibility exists that we can get you out of that pain through the Dr. Gill Center for Back, Neck, and Chronic Pain Relief. They do things differently there. They take the time to listen, to understand, to create a personalized solution just for you, and they have the team, the staff to do so. It is a team approach. Dr. Gill hand-selected Dr. Wendy, Dr. Dominic, Dr. V, and the rest of the team at the Dr. Gill Center. What would you do if your pain was gone? Imagine the freedom and the possibility. I know this. Without the Dr. Gill Center, I do not believe, and I can't be 100% certain, but I do not believe I would be playing golf right now, and I play golf when I want to. Thank you to the Dr. Gill Center for assisting me in back pain relief. For over 60 years of combined experience, the team at the Dr. Gill Center, they have the knowledge and compassion to help you make your life pain-free, and that's a big, big deal. So let's stop taking the pills. Let's not consider needles to block the pain or surgery. Let's get with the Dr. Gill Center, 615-882-4838, 882-4838, or callmepainfree.com. That's callmepainfree.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Matt Murphy in the middle of downtown Franklin, Tennessee. We've talked so much about Savory Spice. I thought, why not show you the place? So let's go on in and see what's popping at Savory Spice. As I've always said, you will smell the spices even before you walk in. I can smell them right here in the doorway. Come on in and let's introduce you to the one and only Holly, who is the owner and proprietor of Savory Spice. Say hey, Holly.
Hello, everyone.
Now, enough about Holly. Let's talk about spicy and easy products like the incredible taco soup, which, as I said, you put this in a crock pot, you put all the ingredients that it tells you to buy right there, you put the spices in, and it's so easy. So if you don't know what you're doing around the kitchen, it's a perfect way to find your way around the kitchen, as is the Mediterranean dill risotto. Now, for the holidays, pumpkin pie spice. What doesn't it have, Holly?
Pumpkin.
Doesn't have any pumpkin in it. That's a fun fact for all of you kids out there. Now, if you stop by Savory Spice, either in the Franklin location or at L&L Market, you can get yourself a sample of the dill dip, which is my absolute favorite. Just tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Savory Spice with purchase now. So come by Franklin or L&L Market in Nashville and come see Holly and the entire crew at Savory Spice.
Trump and Harris off the campaign trail today. We'll let you hear what the former president said after casting his ballot. And a new study finds the rate of kids going to the emergency room for caffeine overdoses has skyrocketed. That's coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Define kid. Because after tonight, I might be right there with them.
Well, you know, and sometimes you get these experts who he'll call teenagers child.
Yeah, that's weird.
A 15-year-old child.
That's a
well, you know how you make
teenage.
Gun violence the number one killer of children?
How's that?
You take out anybody under the age of 1 and you add in any adult that's 18 or 19.
That's right. Including, military age young men. And there you go. I do remember that news story, that news tease reminds me. A couple of years ago, remember that guy I think it was in England, that mistook, he had caffeine pills, and he took like 20 of them, killed him. Heart attack and dead.
That'd do it.
Caffeine will kill you.
Wonder how many cups of coffee that was equal to.
Caffeine pills, 200 milligrams. Cup of coffee is 80 milligrams. So 20 is times 200, 4,000 milligrams. That's like drinking. I think I got the math for you, Belle. It's like drinking like 50 or 60 cup of coffees all at once.
That's a Monday for me.
But enough about Dan Mandis. Oh, I'm sorry. Dan doesn't do coffee. He does slippery elm.
Slippery elm.
That's another story altogether. All right, Steve, we'll get to you in a moment. Sherry, we'll get to you. We'll talk about do not assume that nothing will happen, and do not assume that everything will happen. That is the theme of hour number 2. We'll also get into the Electoral College and your telephone calls coming up. It is Election Day on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 1 o'clock on the dot on this Election Day 2024. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Got an Election 2024 update right now. Michelle Franzen.
Candidates Kamala Harris and Donald Trump off the trail today. The former president voted in Florida. His running mate, J.D. Vance, cast his ballot in his home state of Ohio and sounded optimistic.
You never know until you know, but I feel good about this race. I felt good about my own race a couple of years ago when I voted in this exact same spot.
Voters also weighing in on other key races and measures.
America is making its choice, not just for the 47th president, but for the 119th Congress. Every seat in the House is on the ballot, as well as 34 seats in the Senate. Voters in 10 states, including the key battlegrounds of Arizona and Nevada, will decide whether abortion rights should be enshrined into law. Most political observers believe the outcomes may not be known tonight, but voters have surprised the pundits before.
ABC's Stephen Portnoy. Election officials in North Carolina and Georgia reporting that so far no issues as Americans head to the polls.
Yeah, Fox News says voting hours have been extended in a Pennsylvania county after a malfunction, according to officials, prevented voters in Cambria County from scanning ballots. The polls there are going to be open until 9 o'clock Middle Tennessee time tonight. And former President Trump, as you heard, cast his ballot in Palm Beach with wife Melania this morning. Trump had a message for his supporters.
I'd like to just make the statement that I'd like the Republicans to stay online. Democrats, if they'd like, they can leave. But I'd like the Republicans to stay online.
Here in Nashville, the Election Commission predicts this will be one of the busiest general elections in history. As of 11 o'clock this morning, officials telling Channel 4 turnout has been the highest since 2020. Not as heavy as 2016, though. This man at the Charlotte Pike Elementary School polling location.
I wanted to get in person for the first time for a presidential election and just exercise one of the rights of being an American citizen. That's pretty awesome.
And the FBI Nashville field office says it has a command center, and they're working with local, state, and federal partners to respond if there's any violence or fraud. A new study finds the rate of kids visiting hospital ERs for caffeine overdoses has skyrocketed, more than doubling since 2017. ABC News medical contributor and Stanford Children's Health doctor Altak Patel.
Most people, even adults who regularly consume caffeine, don't realize that some of those energy drinks that you can get in any store may contain 200 to 300 milligrams of caffeine in just one 12-ounce can. And guess what? Any kid can go into a store and buy one.
The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends teenagers consume no more than 100 milligrams of caffeine per day. That's about 1 cup of coffee a day. Symptoms of caffeine overload include anxiety, heart palpitations, and in severe cases, heart attacks, even death. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
You know, it's a dangerous world. We've been saying that for a long, long time. With the Safe House, they make it a little less dangerous by offering you an opportunity to protect your valuables, to protect your loved ones by your Second Amendment rights through a safe at Nashville Safe House. And they've got every size imaginable, every budget imaginable can be taken care of at Nashville Safe House. They're the largest Browning safe dealer in the United States of America. You know what that means? That means they're the largest Browning safe dealer in the world. That means they're the largest Browning safe dealer in the universe right here in Nashville, Tennessee. Unless there's some planet way, way far away where they have Browning safes as well. But I doubt that. One way or the other, Browning is a terrific safe with a great fire rating. But if you're looking for Browning or Fort Knox, Champion, Superior, Rhino, whatever you need, they have your need covered because they have more safes than you've ever seen in your life at Nashville Safe House. Located on 4th Avenue South across from City Cemetery. Go by and see them or browse the selection online at NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Nashville Safe House. Hi there. Fancy meeting you here. It's hour number 2 of the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. On your radio dial. We're also anywhere you stream information, music, news, podcast, you can find us. Just type in Super Talk 99.7 WTN, all of those places, iHeart and Spotify and all of the rest. We also have an app of our own. Did you know that? Oh, yeah. You can download the Super Talk app and take us wherever you go. Or if you so desire to look at my ugly mug and my long hair, check us out at Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. Super Talk TV is up and running until at least 3 o'clock today, and I think that Brian Wilson will have some Super Talk TV running later on. I have no idea if we're going to Super Talk TV the live events at the election night watch party, but if so, I'll be there with bells on, as they say. I got Trump over my right shoulder as Super Talk TV rolls today, and I got a great outfit. By the way, my boy Josh, I tell you about my boy Josh at DeMumbry. He's at DeMumbry and 14th every day. At the
I
exit
see him
ramp.
from time to time.
Yeah, you see Josh from time. And Josh was like, "What are you wearing?" I'm like, "Man, you need to get out and vote Trump." Now, Josh looks to be about a 35 to 40-year-old black male?
Yeah, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. I sat at the red light convincing him that he needed. I said, "Have you voted yet?" He said, "No, I'm voting later." I said, "You need to vote Trump." I did my best.
What was his response to your?
He's like, "No, man, I can't do that." I'm like, "What? You got to vote your wallet. You got to vote your pocketbook. I said, if you want me to have extra money to give you money for this contributor that I never read, time to think about that pocketbook, buddy."
How'd that hit him?
That was my argument. He's just laughing at me. Hopefully,
it was sort of like being at home.
I just want to affect his mind. Infect his mind, as they say. Super Talk 99.7 WTN wants to hear from you throughout the course of the day. Where are you on this election day? Obviously, we just had a guy from the sports station stop in and say, "How's it going?" And I'm like, "It's going well. What do you know?" And I said, "I don't know anything. It's election is ongoing." He said, "This is like y'all's Super Bowl, huh?" And I said, "Yeah. I mean, it's like our Super Bowl, only in as much as the game really hasn't started. The game, the players are in place. The game really starts when we start counting votes and figuring out who's winning and who's losing. So right now we're all anticipating kickoff, if you want to use the football analogy. Now, we're all a part of that kickoff. We're all a part of the process. We have voted or are planning to vote. One of the reasons that I was not necessarily against embracing this idea of early voting, I'm well on record as saying I do not like the idea of voting for 40 days or 30 days or 20 days even. I would not have it that way were I in control. But I am not in control. And as we learned in 2020, it is best to get those votes in and bank them. I understand the concerns that some have that would suggest that there could be shenanigans or whatever. I do not believe the danger in voting chicanery outweigh the importance to get your vote in. And here's why I would say that. I got a text message from someone in Birmingham, Alabama, a good friend of mine, a public official, who said they stood in line for 2 hours and watched as older people dropped out of line and left, saying that they would, quote, come back. Whether they come back or not, I don't know. But my fear is if we rely on day of voting in the manner that we have in the past, that sadly, because voting takes longer than it used to. Why does voting take longer than it used to? I mean, I understand that there have always been lines on voting day. But back in my day, and I'm not trying to be like that old guy on the front porch, but back in my day, we did not have the amounts of early voting that we have today. We had absentee balloting, and that was it. And so if you voted on Election Day. And I understood the lines on Election Day, but the lines seem to have gotten longer despite the fact that a good portion of the population, they're voting early. Why is that? What is taking so long now? What is taking so long to count it now? I just don't get it. That said, I do not mind the concepts of early voting so much, in as much as I think it banks the vote and prevents fall off on Election Day for those who are sick, for those who are perhaps elderly, for those that can't personally be there for an unexpected emergency, or for people that, are going to do it and then they decide, you know what, my vote doesn't matter that much. It's just one vote. I'm going to go on home. Well, maybe in Tennessee that's okay, but not in Georgia, not in North Carolina, not in Pennsylvania. I almost said Washington, D.C. for some reason. I don't know. Lack of sleep. Couldn't sleep last night, friends. Worried about today. Worried about America. Let's get back to your phone call. 615-737-9986. Would love to hear from you. Where are you at? Feeling good? Not feeling so good? Kind of meh? Neutral on it? Steve is in the borough next on Super Talk. Hello, Steve.
Hey, Matt. So excited to talk to you today, man. I wanted to talk to you about the polls and also Electoral College, one of my favorite subjects. But first off, I want to say that I think the Cats for Trump Brigade is probably going to help sway the election a little bit. And by the way, thank you for posing in one of my cat heads at the last event.
Oh, yeah, man. Have you gotten your Panther head back from Brian Wilson yet?
I'm getting it back tonight. So I'll see you guys
good
later.
for you. That's awesome. We'll see you tonight then, huh?
Good deal. Yes, sir. And
awesome.
Here's the thing about the polls, man. I really feel like after this election's over and analysis is done 2 or 3 weeks later, I think the biggest lie that we're going to see from the last 2 months is that Kamala Harris was ever ahead or even tied. I feel like, we're going to end up seeing like a 59-41, some kind of ending thing where it was never close. And but moving on to Electoral College, man, I love.
Hey, before we do, can I comment on that real quick? You got time,
yes,
so
sure,
let me reflect on that for a minute. I think the most likely thing, and you guys know my position on the polling. I don't think it's done for the right reasons. I don't understand the purpose of it from the general public's perspective, except to fill time on the mainstream media networks. And I think mainstream media networks use polls to try to move numbers, and that's wrong. All that to say, one solace that I take is exactly what you're talking about, Steve. If I look at, for example, the ABC WAPO poll. Let's take that one, for example, right? So if I look at that poll in 2016 and 2020 and then look at 2024, every poll that I look at, whether it's NBC or ABC or Gallup, whatever it might be, Trump is overperforming in 2024 than he did in 2020. Like in Pennsylvania, for example, he's like plus 5 points. And I think he's like plus 7 over what he was in 2020 over Biden. So either one of two things have happened. Either Trump's going to walk away with this, or they have changed the metrics of the polls. And no one from the polling data that I've seen, no one has suggested that they've changed the way they do the polls. So if they've not changed the way they've done their polls, and Trump is outperforming 2016 and 2020 Trump by those numbers, those indications would make me predict that this is going to be a cakewalk. But I don't know.
I hope you're right, my friend.
I am too. Now, tell me about the Electoral College. Let's go there.
So I've actually spoken to you about this a couple times in person, but just to bring this back up, I feel like the implementation of the Electoral College today is done incorrectly. And if it were done with the original intent where one congressional district got one Electoral College vote, if that's how we split it up, it's these states that say winner take all are the ones that are mucking it up for the rest of the country. So, for instance, California has got 55. Tennessee's only got 9. A lot of people don't really compare that, but that's the reason we have Electoral College.
What, Electoral College vote? Wait, hold on. Electoral College votes?
Yes,
Tennessee has 11. Tennessee has 11.
11. My bad.
That's okay.
My bad.
That's okay.
But with the 55 in California, I lived there for a long time. I ran the largest Tea Party on the West Coast for about 9 years. I was in the fight. And if 27 of those districts voted for Trump and 28 voted for Harris, with the winner takes all rule, all 55 go to Harris, and those other 27 districts are disenfranchised. And it's the Democrats that are always saying that, Electoral College disenfranchises voters. Well, it doesn't, because if you think about it, and you go back, and I would love to see some researcher go back to the Reagan election and do a breakdown of every election since then by Electoral College, by congressional district, and see what the results would have been if it had been different. Because if you think about it, the Electoral College by congressional district is as close as you can get to the popular vote and still put in a little bit of leeway so that a county with more people doesn't overshadow the next county over because it's smaller. It gives every congressional district.
So what do you do? The additional. So in your methodology, you do the additional 2 based on where the state goes in popular votes.
So no,
because the Electoral College vote is the number of House of Representative members plus 2 in every state. That's what it is.
Correct.
There are 2, but so the Electoral College is not designed to protect the vote of the people. It's designed to protect the rights of the states.
Yes, and if you're in the state and you're voting and you came to that state because, hey, I came to Tennessee because I like the tax laws in Tennessee, I like the abortion, life protection, protecting life in Tennessee. If that's why you're here, then that's your voice. Let your voice be heard. So if they took it and said every state, it's split by congressional district, and then, let the 2 congressmen from that state cast the final 2 based on their constituency, because they have to go back and be reelected. Not the congressmen, the senators.
Right.
Let the 2 senators cast those final 2. And that way, that's really more of a true reflection of the popular vote for that state. More.
We're not trying to. Steve, the electoral, we might just disagree on this. The Electoral College is not designed to reflect the will of the popular vote. Otherwise, just go to the popular. Why wouldn't you just go to the popular vote?
Correct. But the Electoral College balances it out so that, the millions and millions of people in California don't just negate every single vote in seven other states. That it takes it equal there. So I think we're on the same page, or at least I think we have the same goal.
Well, I just think it's not up to the federal government or the Federal Election Commission to make that decision. It's up to the individual states, and they do. Nebraska splits their votes. I think Maine splits their votes. So if Tennessee, if the people of Tennessee demanded that Tennessee divide up Electoral College votes differently, Tennessee could do that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what about all the other people? I'd say, for instance, in California, when there's 55 Electoral College votes, and the conservatives are a minority, they will always be the minority because in that instance, it does seem like their vote doesn't count because you've got to overcome so much in that state.
Well, what about liberals in Tennessee who feel like their vote doesn't count?
Again, going by congressional district, we know that certain areas of Nashville, certain areas of Memphis,
if we're so concerned about it's a circular argument, but if we're so concerned about individual votes counting, then just make it a popular vote in the national elections.
But again, the Electoral College gives us that fair balance of not letting the scales get tipped solely by population.
Right. Then why are you trying to screw with that? Why are you trying to screw with that?
Because if there's 435 congressional districts in the country, why not let each district have its voice equally heard from all the other 434 districts?
I understand the argument. How is that fixing what you think is broken?
Because it's when you have California, New York, and a couple of other states that have large electoral.
These are it's a fundamental. I think it's a fundamental difference of perspective as to what we're doing. We are conducting 50 state elections, and the states themselves decide how they're going to appoint their electors to select the next president of the United States of America. The government of the United States of America should not have the authority to decide that for the states. In my opinion.
There are some states that we automatically assume are going to be blue. Why? Because the Electoral College always makes that state blue.
No, because those states are blue.
But when you look at
there's a lot of factors that go well beyond the Electoral College, Steve, that I think you're dismissing. Gerrymandering is a part of the problem too.
Yes, sir. But when you look at California, county by county, there are actually a lot more red counties in the state of California than
if we apply this to California, are you demanding that we also apply it to Tennessee?
I would say every state.
What do you think the net outcome of doing it your way would be?
That we would no longer have the assumption that this state's always red, this state's always blue. An election now really only goes down to these 7 swing states. Because now, if you think about it, the focus is always the 7 swing states. So because of that, we don't get.
Well, no, I disagree. So the 3 election cycles ago, Ohio was a huge swing state. Ohio's no longer a swing state. Ohio's red.
Yeah.
So these states move.
And then look at Nevada. Nevada used to be red. Now Nevada is what in the heck?
I don't know what's going on in Nevada. I don't know what the breakdown. I don't know what the breakdown would be. I am very defensive of the Electoral College in as much as it offered. The states have lost so much of their individual sovereignty over and beyond what happens at the federal level, and I want to protect that sovereignty as best we can. I think we lost a lot of it with the 17th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States, something that I would repeal immediately if we had the ability, which is direct election of senators. But I would have to break it down and look at it further about what the end result would be. But here's the deal. If the end result is going to be a net – if it's up to the states to do this, you're not going to get the states to do it uniformly. California is not going to do it if they think it's going to benefit Republicans. And I disagree. Disagree with a federal mandate forcing the states to do it because we don't have a federal election in the United States of America.
And it's a tough line. But you know what I think would be awesome, Matt? If there was somebody who ever did the research and went back to the Reagan election and just showed us what would have happened, I think that would be interesting.
Well,
And that
the
might
80.
change my
Well, I would
perspective.
suggest that the '84 election couldn't have gone much better for Ronald Reagan, considering that Walter Mondale only won Minnesota. So, maybe in '80 it was a different story. Look, I love the debate, though, Steve, and I appreciate the conversation. Thank you so much for it, and I'll see you tonight. Pantherhead and all 23 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7. We'll get to Cherie and Ron and Rita and Jonathan and Joe and you, not necessarily in that order, on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Coin, the conservative credit card. Coin, I've been telling you a lot about Coin lately. Why? Because I believe in the way they do their business. And trust me, I did my research. I saw the reasons that Coin came about, the reasons that they collected money and started their credit card company. And now I find it a wonderful opportunity to submit to you that if you are a conservative, if you're a liberty-minded person and you're thinking about a credit card, you ought to think about Coin. They are the best and most consistent conservative credit card in America. You earn cash back while fighting the liberal agenda. Go to coin.com, that's COIGN.com, coin.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details.
Well, the FBI is out with a statement on what it calls fake news stories about terror threats today, and some interesting news about whom Ukrainians want to see win the White House. That's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. 127, man, flying by today so far. Almost halfway home. We'll hand off to the drive with Brian Wilson. Brian getting in place at our big election night watch party location. That is the James, I've been calling it the James A. Ward Agricultural Center for, 2 weeks now. And Bell K is supposed to correct me on these matters, and sadly, he has not done so. Bell?
Sounded good to me.
James E. Ward, I think.
A.E., what's a vowel between friends?
That's what I thought, too. That's what I thought. Anyway, one way or the other, the Big Tennessee Room at the Wilson County Fairgrounds is the site of our debate watch party. You're invited. It is free. We had a VIP section. This is confusing some people. We had a VIP section, and that's sold out. We couldn't add to it. But many of you, look, it's in the same facility. You'll be in the same place. You'll see the same people. You eat at the same food trucks. It'll all be good and well, and we would love to see you. That is coming up tonight, officially beginning at 5 o'clock. That's when food service begins and drink service begins. Brian will be there at 3. Doors will be open for that as well. All of the rest of us, Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, will be showing up at around 5 at the event center. Ken Weaver back at home base here with Jeff Malinoff running the board. And you out there with us. We got, a team approach. I mean, we got Jay Harper over at Marsha Blackburn's watch party. He'll be reporting back as well. It is going to be a big time tonight at the James E. Ward Ag Center, Wilson County Fairgrounds, the Tennessee Room on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's time for, I lost Joe. Joe said that he couldn't vote. Was that what he was saying? Tell me what Joe said. Joe, call back.
He said he tried to vote, and they told him he wasn't registered, and he said he was.
Oh. Did they allow you, Joe, to cast a provisional ballot? Did they offer you that opportunity? They should, if there is a debate about where you should be voting. Otherwise, someone should assist you in figuring out where you need to go to vote if you're in the wrong district. That's what I would recommend. Or you can go to Go Vote 10C, I think that's right.
GoVoteTN.com.
There we go. GoVoteTN.com. Thank you, Ken Weaver. Man, he's so good. So good. GoVoteTN.com.
GoVoteTN.gov.
Dang, he's so good. Ken Weaver is so good. GoVoteTN.gov. I was going to tell you wrong. I was going to tell you go to Ken Weaver's got the info. GoVoteTN.gov, Joe. For any and all information. But call us back if you need to. Shari, we'll get to you in a moment. Ron, Jimmy, Rita, and Jonathan all upcoming right after the newscast, which is happening right now at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 1:30 on the dot this Election Day 2024. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes. And right now, the FBI says there are fake news stories about high terrorist threats at polling locations across the country. USA Today says an FBI statement says it was made aware of, quote, 2 instances of its name and insignia being misused in promoting false narratives surrounding the election. And here in Nashville, the FBI field office says it has a command post working closely with local, state, and federal partners to handle any violent activity, fraud, voter suppression, cyber attacks, threats to election workers.
We've always been in a ready posture to address those kind of threats, and these are the type of scenarios that we've been getting ready for, just in case if they were to happen. It's unfortunate when individuals take action in violent ways, and so any American citizen, whoever you might be at any role in society, should feel safe and secure through this whole entire process.
They say if you want to report allegations of election fraud and abuse, call 615-232-7500. Nations and people around the world are watching America today, says Ian Pannell in London.
Major European leaders are anxious what a Trump victory will mean. Potentially U.S. disengagement, things like a weakening of support for NATO, for climate agreements, and tougher terms on trade. And, of course, the war in Ukraine hangs heavy across the continent. And while I think many favour a Harris presidency and ongoing U.S. support for Ukraine, there are now growing voices, even inside Ukraine, who actually think Trump would be better placed to bring a swift end to the war.
And Galen Truk with 538 says the results could come in waves, including the results of the counties in specific swing states.
If you're taking a look at North Carolina, which we expect to know some data earlier on in the evening, and most of the results we're getting are from rural counties and it favors Trump, well, that's to be expected. Harris is expected to do better in those urban and suburban counties, so maybe we need to wait to get a fuller picture of those places before we draw any conclusions about how, say, North Carolina is going or Georgia or any of the other states.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center continues to grow. It is why Dr. Stephen Poss hand-selected Dr. Brian McLaughlin, who comes with the same exceptional credentials as Dr. Poss, to help serve Middle Tennessee even better. Why? Because more and more people are recognizing they do not need to rely, if they have mild to moderate sleep apnea, on a CPAP machine to help them breathe better at night. If you're not sleeping well, do you have sleep apnea? If you don't know, it's time to get a test. And if you do know that you have mild to moderate sleep apnea, did you know this? There's an FDA-approved oral device that gently holds your jaw forward, helps you breathe better and snore less without a hose and without any mask. I use one on a nightly basis. Absolutely love this thing because I get a better night's sleep and I do not wake up throughout the course of the night. Tell you what, friends, as fall is approaching, it's time to do this because many of you perhaps have met your deductibles. Maximize your insurance. Don't wait until next year. Let's start sleeping better tonight with an oral device from the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. It all starts with the visit to the website, drposs.com. That's drposs.com. drposs.com. 2 locations to serve in Brentwood and Murfreesboro. It's Dr. Poss and Dr. McLaughlin at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy here for U.S. Pest. U.S. Pest likes to remind you this time of year that just because it's getting cooler does not mean that pests are still not a threat at your home. I understand that the mosquitoes have died down, and maybe the fleas and the ticks outside have died down and on your pets, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a rodent issue in your home. That doesn't mean that you don't have bugs and creepy crawlies trying to get into your walls, trying to live off your stuff. I mean, they're communists. I like to call them that. J.K. and Erica Brister are the fine sponsors of the Matt Murphy Show at U.S. Pest. They're great Americans, and they're the presenting sponsor of our Election Night Watch Party. And I want to say thank you to J.K., thank you to Erica, and the rest of the team at U.S. Pest. And not just for sponsoring our watch party and helping make America a better place to live, but also for everything you do to protect us from the bugs and the nasties and the termites and all of the rest at U.S. Pest. USPest.com, USPest.com, or call 590-1260, 590-1260. So I have to offer a mild correction to myself. And I think this is important. Ken Weaver's bebopping with the beat there, Bell. He kind of likes that bumper selection. I saw that in the background. Love seeing that.
I like those skins.
Mm-hmm.
He's back there listening to Cannibal Corpse. He does that in between
yes,
the newscasts.
By the way, Ken Weaver, are you do you have any of them spicy Cheez-Its?
I do, and I'm glad you asked that.
Mm-hmm.
I made the mistake of taking my goodies from the lovely Erica home last night.
That's trouble.
And
gone?
Well, the pound cake is. My son got about halfway through the Cheez-Its before I was able to hide them away, and I have them with me. That's going to get me through tonight.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
Thank you, Erica.
Well,
Thank you very much. My family really appreciates it, too. Yeah, I had them in my backpack, and I forgot about them, and I pulled them out and put them on the bar, and boom.
They're so good.
My 17-year-old was on it like a pit bull.
They're spicy, though. You better watch them. They'll get you.
Yeah, I like them.
So I was wrong about that. Should we do – I mean, should you – I mean, I I mean, I do it when I'm right. I guess I need to do it when I'm wrong.
No, because it happens so little, we have no real theme for it. So there's
wrong. So the difference between Alabama and Tennessee voting. So I've gotten multiple reports about Alabama voting. And because I have a lot of friends still in Alabama, and they're sending me text message or on the super text line, 615-737-9986, and they're telling me the hours that they are spending at the polls. But then I'm getting Tennessee reports. Oh, I was in and out of Murfreesboro. I mean, Chris Hand just gave me the report. He said 4 kids in tow. I was in and out in 5 minutes. Well, Mr. Hand, I'm telling you that you were in and out in 5 minutes because of early voting. Now, I'm not saying early voting is a good thing. I am on record as saying that I would not have it this way. But I'm telling you this. The reports I'm getting out of Alabama are universal. 2-hour waits in Alabama. And Alabama does not have early voting.
That's what was happening back in Oklahoma for early voting.
Sure.
2-hour waits.
Yeah.
I got to check with my buddies over there and see what's going on there right now.
So Alabama has absentee voting, but only for specific and defined reasons. But they do not have early voting and never have. And you are experiencing, and I'm not, this is kind of a case for early voting where you got grandmas leaving the line because the lines are 2 and 2.5 hours long. And I'm getting those reports over and over again. As a matter of fact, a judge in the state of Alabama, Judge Minor, is telling me the longest line I've ever stood in line to vote. Longest I've ever stood in line to vote, he said. When I left, the line was longer than when I first got in it. Took well over an hour to vote. My buddy Jay St. Clair, who's on with us on these Fridays, says same for me. And I wrote, because I, for some reason, was thinking that they had adopted some level of early voting as well. I said, Tennessee reporting shorter lines, early voting better here, I bet. And the judge reminded me, well, no early voting in Alabama. And I was like, still? No, absentee for just official and listed reasons. So there you go. And I feel like most states are allowing some form of early voting. Whether you like it or not, that is a matter of opinion. By the way, if Grant, my good friend Grant, is listening to the radio show, just a point of personal privilege, I got the I voted sticker that you sent me with a different message on it, and I almost burst out laughing when I read it.
Kudos, Grant.
I'm going to send it to you, Belle, and see if you have the same reaction, okay?
Okay. Was this on Twitter?
No.
So he actually mailed you snail mail?
It was no. It was a text message.
Oh.
I just sent it to you. Let me know when you get it. I will say it's the best vote. It's the best version of the I voted sticker that I've ever seen.
You cannot do coke in the bathroom.
Is that not pretty good?
It's pretty much the same.
That's fun.
I wish we could say that on the air.
We cannot.
I know. It's just too funny.
I am sorry for this last 2 minutes of show because we're making a joke that we can't tell you about on the radio, but it's pretty funny. I guess maybe I could post it up on my – is that Twitter appropriate? Is that X appropriate?
You could whisper it to me.
Well, I think, you don't have a work account, so,
I mean, I don't really talk about my work on my – well, I'll figure that out.
It's your private account.
I need to reflect on that for a minute before I do something rash. Let's put it that way. It's pretty funny, though. All right, Cherie is coming up. Mr. Jimmy, I got you on the line. Rita, Jonathan, Dave, Ron, a lot of folks want to talk, and I need to get out of the way and let you do so. Miss Cherie, how are you?
Hey, Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for calling in, and thank you for holding.
Sure. I just wanted to address, I think, some of the issues that the Democrats may run into in other states. I know Tennessee is a deep red state, but, I mean, women are women all over the country. And I know in my family alone, we have 6 20-something females, none of which have really voted in their lifetime. And my 2 daughters included in their 20s. We are not a deeply religious family. I think they're counting the fact that everyone that's going to vote for Trump as a woman is a deeply religious, uneducated woman who is under her husband's thumb, and that is not the case. My girls run their household, as do I. Our husbands pretty much go along with what we want most of the time. And I think what they're not getting is that 20-something women in this country, even college educated, which my daughters are and my nieces are college educated, what they want is to have a family and be a mom and have a home. And they are more concerned with that than their ability to have an abortion in this country. So I think they're really underestimating the amount of women that they think are going to vote for her just on the abortion issue.
You know, I hope so. I hope that's the case. I think that it's not necessarily a matter of whether someone 25 or 26 or 27 years of age would change their vote. This is just my analysis of it, Cherie. I don't think it's so much whether they would change their vote from Trump to her because of the abortion issue. It's turnout. It's motivating liberal. Well, hold on. Let me finish. Let me just get it. Let me get to the period real quick, and I'll let you talk. So it's motivating 25-year-old females that are more liberal-minded to get to the polls by scaring the hell out of them, suggesting that Donald Trump wants to turn back the clock and turn the country into some sort of Handmaid's Tale.
Right. Both of my daughters have not voted in the past. Both of them voted for Trump.
Well, I'm glad of that. I mean, that gives me hope. I certainly am hopeful that that is the case around the country. I hope that they are overestimating because, trust me, like I've been saying, and you've probably heard me say it, the only real position that Kamala Harris has stuck with throughout her political career is her belief that you should be able to abort a child up until the 9th month of pregnancy and beyond. So right. So outside of that, I don't know why people would be going to vote for her. So they certainly attempted to make that push toward the end of the election cycle because that's the one issue that they think they can win on with younger female voters. So I'm hopeful that you are right, and this is not a trend that we will see in some of these battleground states.
Well, I think you have a lot of young ladies in their 20s who are in the position in their life where they're wanting to start a family and buy a house and be a mom and live that American dream that I really believe most of those age women in this country have. And the economy is the main reason that they're not going to be able to do that, not abortion. So that's what they're looking at. How can we keep more of our money?
I love it. You are giving me hope. I love this.
I hope.
Give me hope. Give me excitement. I like that, Cherie. Thank you. I hope to see you tonight at the big watch party event. Thank you for the call. I want to get to as many as I possibly can, to include Ron. I'm getting to you next, Mr. Jimmy and Rita and Jonathan and Dave. Ron, what's going on out of Nash?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hey, that was very interesting about the Electoral College, and I'd like to learn more about that because I feel like my vote doesn't count in Tennessee. But what I called you about, a buddy of mine, and we're still buddies, we ain't killing each other over political ideology.
Good for you.
I offered to bet him a bottle of liquor for if his person wins, I owe him a bottle of liquor, and if my person wins, he owe me a bottle of liquor. He wouldn't take it, and he's a Trump supporter.
Huh?
Yeah. So
is he not a liquor drinker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's.
What do you drink, Ron? What are you drinking over there? What do you drink?
My drink of choice is Dewar's 15-year-old Scotch.
Okay. I love it.
You want to take the wager?
Yeah, I'll do it. I'm in.
All right.
I'm in.
All right.
Just for you, Ron, and I'll get something consistent with that. I'll just trade you bottles of Dewar Scotch. How about that?
Hey, that'll work.
Okay. Hey, come. You should listen. The doors are open tonight in Wilson County for all comers, Ron. Nobody's going to test who you voted for or how you voted because this is America after all, and you will be treated like the friend of this show that you are. So come on out and see us tonight, man.
All right, I will, but I'm going to have my grandbabies tonight, man.
Okay. Well, I get that too. I understand that. That's more important. Yeah, no doubt. All
right.
Well, let's talk after the election. It might be, who knows, 2 weeks before we can figure out who won, but we'll figure it out.
Exactly.
We'll figure it out. Hold me to it now.
I sure will. Hold me. All right.
All right. Well, I'll see you. I mean, sure. I mean, Ron sounded like a man that wanted to bet. I don't know what's going to happen later on tonight, but give me a little more vested interest in it, huh? Sure. Mr. Jimmy has voted today. Let's find out how that went.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mr. Jimmy.
Hi. I went and voted about an hour and a half ago to about 4 blocks away from my house to the Jerry Eakin School. I don't know if it's a junior high or a grade school. I saw there was about a dozen older folks there and maybe 6 younger people there. The most of the younger people were in a line, had a big sheet of paper in their hand. So I guess they were trying to sign up to vote. But they had 6 tables set up alphabetically, and of course my last name ends with an M, so I was in the O to the L, I think, line. There was no lines there. There was about 12 older folks voting, and that was it.
Well, I think in Tennessee, Mr. Jimmy, I think the voter lines are not nearly the length that I'm hearing about in Alabama, where they don't have early voting. So I think the early voting process has alleviated some of those lines, thankfully. So it didn't take you no time at all, it sounds like.
No.
Well,
about 10 or 15 minutes.
I would say. Go ahead.
I have been here for 20 years, but I've never seen a line. I probably voted for 5 different presidents and 5 the voting before the president, primary, I guess is what you call them, and I never saw a line.
Well, Mr. Jimmy, I'm glad you voted. I'm glad you got through it. And for those, if you're right that there were some youngsters there, and thank you for the call, Mr. Jimmy, trying to vote, they're going to be sorely disappointed because you cannot register to vote on the same day that you do. Matter of fact, I think it's about 30 days out in the state of Tennessee. Michael and Rita and Jonathan and Dave, hang in there. 151 flying by at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's Election Day. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy. All month long for the month of November, our friends at Kraft Body Scan are giving thanks by offering you a couple's heart and lung scan for only $149. These scans are typically valued at about $2,500 collectively. A huge, dare I say, huge savings for anyone looking for a simple, non-invasive way to check out their heart, check out their lungs, and to make sure that everything's going well inside of your body. These scans can be a serious game changer. I mean, folks, think about this. Things will start going wrong before you feel it in your body. Do you want to know that early or later? Do you want to wait until you're symptomatic, or do you want to know it as early as possible? So this month, we're inviting you to take the proactive step toward better health through early detection with Kraft Body Scan. Book today at craftbodyscan.com or togetherwescan.com. That's togetherwescan.com, or call 615-436-1000. 436-1000. A couple's heart and lung scan for only $149 from our friends at Kraft Body Scan.
Election 2024. China is watching. Details at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you, 158. Good afternoon. How you feeling? I am as excited as I'm as nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. I'll tell you that. But I'm excited. I'm very, very excited about tonight. I'm excited about seeing you. Just received a photo verification of the big hall. The James E. Ward Ag Center looks great. Tables with white tablecloths on them. I mean, this is fancy. This is fancy stuff, man. Brian Wilson is in place getting ready for the big drive with Brian Wilson starting at 3 o'clock. Doors officially open at 5 o'clock. We want to see you. Plenty of room for all at the Ag Center building. Dan Mandis is already nervous about filling that room. Nervous as can be about filling that room. But he's been nervous about filling every room we've ever been in since I've been here. So that'll be okay. We'll get to your calls coming up. I promise you I'll make way for you right after the newscast. Super Talk 99.7 WT. And talk a little about Joe Rogan and Elon Musk last night. I wish the interview was a week earlier, but it wasn't. Joe Rogan endorsed Donald Trump. The Elon Musk interview is so good. If you've not seen it, please make it available to yourself, to your family. I know it's 3 hours long. You don't have to watch all of it. I'll play a few selected clips in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here comes the news.
Two o'clock on the dot on Election Day 2024. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And right now in traffic, we've got a problem on the East Loop downtown going eastbound. There is a disabled vehicle blocking the center lane right there near Shelby Avenue. Election 2024, Davidson County officials say as of 11 o'clock this morning, voter turnout heavier than in 2020, but not as heavy as 2016. As for more, here's Michelle Franzen.
Americans lining up to cast ballots across the country. Aside from a few hiccups reported, election officials say there are no major issues. In Ohio, voter Alec Cario says there was a slight delay at his polling place in Parma.
It's moving along a little better than it was. I think they like a scanner down. I got here like 9:45. It's like 11 now, so wasn't too bad, but I was with my mom, so I had someone to talk to.
Voters choosing if Kamala Harris or Donald Trump will be the next president, along with which party controls the House and Senate.
It's going to be an interesting dynamic tonight because Republicans feel very good about their chances of taking the Senate. Democrats feel good about their chances of taking the House. And whoever gets into the White House, if both of those remain true, is going to be disappointed in one shape or form or function with one of the various houses of Congress.
ABC's Jay O'Brien. Election officials say they don't expect to have all the results finalized tonight.
Well, the FBI says election threats appear to originate from Russia today. The agency issuing a statement to USA Today that says there are fake news stories about the FBI announcing a high terrorist threat at polling locations. The FBI says that is not the case. Here in Tennessee, the FBI field office in Nashville says it's working with local, state, and federal partners to keep the process safe, make sure it's fair.
We're staffing 24/7 command posts nationwide. Our FBI headquarters is also running a 24/7 posture with well over 80 people on any given shift with all of our agency partners to just prioritize that as we go through the election process. It's every citizen's right to exercise their democratic process peacefully and without any concern.
A new study finds the rate of kids visiting hospital ERs for caffeine overdoses has skyrocketed, more than doubling since 2017 among kids ages 11 to 14. ABC News medical contributor and Stanford Children's Health doctor Alok Patel says kids aren't reading the warnings on the cans.
When in doubt, take the can, turn it around, and look to see how many milligrams of caffeine are in that beverage, or go online and look it up. Before giving your child or teen any beverage, you should absolutely know what's in it.
Yeah, the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends teenagers consume no more than 100 milligrams of caffeine per day. That's about 1 cup of coffee. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Let's start taking our country back one credit card at a time. How about that? We can get into the fight with Coin. It is the conservative credit card. Instead of funneling millions of dollars to the political left like other cards, that's what they do, right? They charge you an interest rate, and they take that money that they make off the interest rates, and then off they go, funneling that money into liberal causes, woke agendas. Let's fight back. Earn cash back while fighting back with Coin. They advance conservative values and give to conservative charity. Apply right now at coin.com. That's COIGN.com, coin.com. Terms apply. Go to coin.com/disclosures for full details. Incredibly excited about tonight's event, the Presidential Election Night Watch Party at the Wilson County Fairgrounds, officially starting up at about 5 o'clock this evening. Originally, it was going to start at 6, and people said, no, we want to get there earlier to watch Brian Wilson in the drive, and so you shall. Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, Brian Wilson. Ken Weaver will be back at home base, holding down the fort, giving us numbers, feeding us information from Super Talk Central here at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jay Harper will be out and about. He's going to be in Cool Springs, Franklin area. There is an event with Senator Marsha Blackburn and a number of other elected officials happening in Cool Springs. Jay will be reporting back from there. We'll have reports coming in from the Secretary of State, as a matter of fact. It's my understanding Trey Hargett will be calling us at some point tonight. It is also my understanding that Congressman John Rose will be on site in the Wilson County Fairground Ag Center building at our event tonight, courtesy of J.K. Brister, one of our presenting sponsors with U.S. Best. And thank you. Hold on a second. Thank you to, I just had to grab the list because I just want to run it down, because these things that we will experience tonight, and I hope you're there. I hope you're there, and I hope it's a big celebration. Let me run down the possibilities. 1, we're going all the way to midnight because we don't know who's going to win. Number 2, we're going all the way to midnight because Donald Trump has won in a landslide, and it's a big party. If that happens, if Donald Trump, by the way, I said this yesterday. Y'all can fact check me on it. Bell, I think this is exactly what I said. That if Donald Trump is declared the winner of the 2024 presidential contest by 11 p.m. Central Time, that everyone still in the building that wants a drink gets a drink bought by me, that I will buy a round for the group.
Are we limiting choices?
Whatever's available for purchase there at the facility. Okay. We don't have anything crazy.
Well, you have said that in the past, and now you've clarified it even further.
Mm-hmm. And if that occurs, that's going to cost me a pretty penny, but I'm willing to pay it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm willing to pay it.
There's a lot of people going to hang out. Let
me think. If there's 500 people and it's $5 a drink, which I think I can talk the folks down to 5. I mean, that's $2,500. That is, the knowledge that Donald Trump's our next president, that's worth that amount of money. I will pay that all day, every day. Special thanks to our presenting sponsor, U.S. Pest. Special thanks to, I'm running them down. These are the people that made the Election Night Watch Party possible. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, Glock Store, Wellness Institute of Nashville, Paul Winkler, West Tree Services, Members Nutrition, Cover Nash. Special thanks to our charity Fight DMD. And to donate, go to fightdmd.com. Special thanks to our food and beverage sponsors, Pig and Pie Catering, Space Cowboy Coffee, Music City Brisket, Smoky Dogs, Fatty Matty's Pizza, no relation. And special thanks to Southern Trophy House for providing some of the goodie bags, and to our beverage sponsors, Sailor Jerry Rum, Hendrick's Gin. You better write these down, folks, because this is probably one of the drinks you'll be getting at 11 o'clock tonight. Rika Vodka, Milagro Tequila, and Sailor Jerry Rum. Anyway, so thank you to all of you bringing you the tonight's festivities. And thanks to those of you who are currently holding. So we'll get to you momentarily. Real quick, the Electoral College. You need 270 to win. I'm looking at the Electoral College map, 270towin.com. And if you look at the consensus states for Democrats and the consensus states for Republicans, you'll see that the Democrats and Kamala Harris have they have 227 electoral votes kind of locked in. Whereas the Republicans have about 228. They have 228 locked in according to this map. This leaves these states in play as toss-ups for tonight. Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. 6 states. Arizona has consistently gone for Trump, and we're putting that in Trump. Virginia, I know Hand wants Virginia to be in play. I understand why he wants it. Virginia looks to be solidly blue at this point. So I'm leaving that in the blue category. So we're dealing with Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Nevada. If Georgia and North Carolina go Trump, and Michigan and Wisconsin go Kamala, I'm doing the little clicky click right now. It's like I'm that guy on the TV with the tote board. Then we have a race that is 259 Republican, 253 Democrat. At this point, it doesn't really matter where Nevada goes. If you believe Michigan and Wisconsin go Kamala, and I'm not saying I believe these things, I'm just chalking up. I'm looking at the map, and I'm just coming up with the scenario that I think is most likely, because I've been saying this for a month now, that it all comes down to one state. And that state is Pennsylvania. It's all about Pennsylvania. All about turnout in the rural community. All about whether or not they value their economy and their nation and their border security over the scare tactics that Kamala Harris has engaged in. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. I'll get more into the Elon Musk audio that I promised you last hour in just a moment. But right now, so many of you have been waiting, and you're the most important component of this show today. Rita is in Springfield next. Hey, Rita, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for calling.
I have spent the day cooking snacks because I'm 80 years old, and my other 3 friends who are same age group are coming over. We're having an old-fashioned slumber party. I think they all voted for Trump, as did I, and I don't like him. He's rude, crude, totally unacceptable for a dinner party. But if he wins, I think we'll have chaos. And I think my Democrat friends who are liberal would vote for him because their parents did forever. And even people with a lot of money, they don't realize what's going to happen. And the other group, they're very intellectual, and they like all these programs. Now, I have 2 questions. One of them is, why did we see the senators and the representatives who are Republican stay so quiet during all of this campaigning for Trump? Nobody supported him that I heard anywhere much at all. The other question I have is, why did it take so long to get things done in Pennsylvania? Because in California, when they finish, they're going to be 2 hours behind Pennsylvania, and yet they're going to have their tallies before Pennsylvania. Does that give them a chance to cheat?
So I can answer this. Well, I can answer both of them. So the first question is, so are you talking about our senators, Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty, or just generally?
Generally, the whole group of them.
I mean, I don't know. I saw quite a few. I mean, I believe, Ted Cruz was doing his thing, despite the fact that he's in an election of his own. Tommy Tuberville out in Alabama, Katie Britt in Alabama. I mean, I saw a good bit of campaigning for Trump down ballot. So, I mean, I don't know if you have thought of anybody in specifically, but I mean, I feel like for the most part, the Republicans who are running have embraced Trump far more so than the Democrats that are running have embraced Kamala Harris or even Joe Biden for that matter. But so I just haven't seen as much of that. As far as California results versus Pennsylvania results, it's really as simple as this. This might not satisfy you, Miss Rita, but I'm going to say it. They know who's going to win California right now. Right now. There is no question that California is going for Kamala Harris. And I say that with sadness in my heart. I wish there were. So pretty soon after they close the polls, they're going to announce California goes for Kamala Harris, despite the fact when they make the announcement that California is for Harris, you'll see about 10% of the vote in when that announcement is made. Pennsylvania.
Yeah, but I'm talking about anybody that's 2 hours behind. I don't care if it's California or Washington, whoever it is. Anybody 2 hours behind.
Right. Okay, so what's your frustration?
My question is that if they know when they're finished, 2 hours behind out there, it's going to be 9 o'clock our time. It's going to be 10 o'clock Pennsylvania's time. Pennsylvania should be finished at least by 10. Why couldn't they be finished as soon as those other states out west?
Well, because when they make the announcement, everybody's finished at that point, right? But when they make the announcement that California has gone for Harris, that's based on projected votes, based on counting about 10% of the votes. In Pennsylvania, they can't make that same projection because they have no idea how the votes are going to come in because it's so much closer. Okay, they have to actually count all the votes in Pennsylvania as opposed to California, where they'll just announce it before they finish counting. Does that make sense? I'm not saying it's right. I wish, and you point to an interesting dynamic, and this happened in 2016. It's happened before. I mean, I think I remember this right in 2020. Ken Weaver, if you're back there and you can remember, so I believe it was the case in 2020 that Dan Rather called Florida for Al Gore. And and I think a couple of networks called Florida for Al Gore, and they had to pull back on that call after declaring that Florida had gone Gore.
I do not remember.
I think I'm right in that. And if you're on the super text line and you can remember this, I think that's correct. And so after that, of course, they promised that they would be better. They promised that they wouldn't make those calls early. And if they made good on those promises, I don't remember it because they're always doing it. Every network wants to be the first to call, but they don't want to be wrong. And so they push the envelope on some of these calls. Obviously, I mean, when the polls close in the state of Tennessee, Tennessee will get called for Donald Trump. When the polls close in the state of Alabama, Alabama will be called for Donald Trump, and Mississippi, and Arkansas, and Missouri, and Louisiana, and South Carolina, and probably Florida. And on it goes. And when the polls close in Colorado, they'll call Colorado for Kamala Harris, in California, and Oregon, and Washington State, and New York. These are the easy ones. With the harder states, they play it closer to the vest, and they don't make those calls because they don't know how the election's going to break. What frustrates me is in times past, there have been instances where they've made calls that would get us at least close to the 270 electoral map before certain polls close on the West Coast. I mean, believe it or not, we're talking about having to wait 3 weeks before the election is decided. And there were times in our lifetime where there were folks frustrated because they were making calls that would have put candidates over the top before the polls in Nevada closed or Arizona closed or Idaho or Washington or whatever. And that's not right either. But a lot of these calls, especially for states out west, are projections. They don't have to count all the votes before they can make the call because they are confident they know where the votes are going. I know that's not a satisfactory answer, but I hope it's a satisfying one. Or maybe I flip that, reverse it. Jonathan is next in Clarksville. Hey, Jonathan.
Hey, Mighty Matt. What's going on, buddy?
What's on, brother? Busy day, busy day. What's happening with you?
Busy day, just moving 18 wheels across the country for you.
Man, I love that. Thank you.
But my subject was more on voter roll, but it really leans more on turnout than voter roll. While voter roll is important, turnout, in my opinion, is one of the most important things. And, you know, whether you're on the left, the right, center, it doesn't matter. Turnout's the most important thing. Go back to when you have those people out there that are like, oh, well, why vote? My vote doesn't matter. You know, you're essentially disenfranchising, you know, yourself by not voting, but the higher percentage of turnout you have, the less percentage that can have shenanigans, so to speak. So I think you understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Well, I mean, I understand that there's a concern that the Democrats are willing to use any means at their disposal to win an election fairly or unfairly.
Right. And I guess what I'm saying is, in a perfect world, we would have 100% turnout of those that are registered to vote. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But let's say in a perfect world, everybody votes and you have your results. Well, let's say there is cheating. Well, it's going to be obvious when you have 150 to 200% turnout.
Well, yeah,
opposed to your registered voters. You get where I'm at.
But thankfully, and I remember this some years ago in Alabama when there was an election cycle that saw one particular county in the Black Belt had 110% turnout. I mean, it's a pretty obvious example of voter cheating, right? So,
but it would. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, if in a perfect world everyone votes that's registered to vote, it would be easy to tell if there was cheating because you would know where to look. You got 110, 120% turnout. Well, you got 200,000 people voting, but your county only has 180,000 people. It'd be easy. So I would say to the ones that say, "Oh, my vote don't count because they're just going to cheat anyways." Well, every vote counts. The more votes that come in, the less cheating that's possible for those that believe that's happening.
Well, we can speculate on the manner in which the cheating might occur, but what I would prefer to do is to use evidence and facts in order to break down. We either believe that we have done the work to put people in place to make sure that cheating doesn't occur, or we don't.
Yeah, and I think we do great in Tennessee. I do.
I do too. But I want to make. I have to trust, and the people that I do trust have told me that they have done so. The Laura Trumps of the world, the RNCs of the world, they have told us that they have done better. The state of Arizona, the state of Pennsylvania, the state of Georgia. They have repaired certain aspects of the 2020 voting cycle. I mean, it doesn't get talked about that much because people would prefer to speculate on how the Democrats are going to cheat. And I understand that that's a fear, but what good does it do? I mean, no, I'm not smacking around Jonathan, but what good does it do speculating on the manner in which they may cheat? We have to trust that we've done the work ourselves and we've handed that work off to others that would prevent that level of cheating, so that we can see a fair and honest election. I think it's a shameful testimony to where the Democrats have gotten us, and I blame them. I squarely blame them that there's so much distrust and lack of faith in our election processes. But it's a reality. It's 22 after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for USS. That is United Structural Systems. And right now I want to tell you about the wonderful sponsorship of the Run to Remember Tristan 5K and 1 Mile Fun Run in Pleasant View, Tennessee this Saturday, November 9th at 7 a.m. The event is held in the Pleasant View Community Park. It's dedicated to honoring the life and memory of Tristan Franklin, bringing friends and families together to celebrate this legacy. And USS wants to spend this time to remind you about it. In addition to celebrating Tristan's life, the event is a fundraiser to raise money for the Tristan Franklin Foundation, an organization with a mission to support and equip Cheatham County athletes. All proceeds from the race will go directly toward providing scholarship for student athletes in Cheatham County and eventually leading to the construction of a track, with many more plans in mind to honor Tristan. Join USS in signing up for the Run to Remember Tristan Memorial Race and the Fun Run this Saturday. Go to this website, runtoremembertristan.com. Tristan is spelled Tristin. Runtoremembertristan.com. You know, I could spend the next minute talking to you about the incredible Glock store, the beautiful, bright showroom, the incredible shooting rooms, Never Lane shooting rooms at the Glock store, shoot270.com. I could tell you about their manufacturing department and the fact that they have every Glock in stock. Every Glock. That's not just a rhyme. That's every Glock in stock. But today, I'm going to remind you that Glock Store is a wonderful sponsor of our election night watch party, and everybody that goes to the watch party is eligible to win a number of prizes, like third prize, an incredible hydration mug. This is pretty cool. It's made with gun-grade material. It's awesome. I've got one, and I love that they're selling these things at the Glock Store. Number 2, you could win several different sessions at the Shoot 270 rooms, 3 to be precise, and the grand prize is the Glock 19. That's the big one. It's the Trump Glock, right? A customized Glock with Trump on the handle, American Eagle on the handle, Trump on one side, American flag on the other side. You got to see this thing to know what you're getting. I mean, it's fabulous. And you can register tonight, and we'll announce the winner tomorrow from the Glock Store. Go to GlockStore.com for more information. That's GlockStore.com. We'll see you tonight.
Still got that stalled vehicle backing things up on the eastbound East Loop downtown. It is blocking the center lane right there near Shelby Avenue. We got voter turnout in Nashville. When might the results be ready? And China's watching. All this and more at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
China, as Donald Trump would say. China. By the way, just a reminder, the Go Vote TN app, we're being told by Trey Hargett, the Secretary of State, that it is experiencing a very high volume of traffic. Voters can also, if your app won't download for you, I've got the app on my phone. It seems to be working fine. But if the app's not working for you, as we have reminded you, you can go find more information at their website, at the Tennessee Secretary of State's office. You can also go to 10map.10.gov/voter lookup for more information about where you go to vote if you are confused about where you might be voting today. 615-737-9986. Dave's in the borough. It's Dave's turn. Hello, Dave. Dave's not here. Dave's not here. Hello, Dave. Dave's not here. Dave fell asleep. Dave, I apologize. I blame myself first and foremost. I mean, my name's on the door after all, for causing you anxiety by having you hold for so long. Dave, I hope that while you've been on hold for the 50 minutes that you have, that you've not been absconded in some way and put into a trunk. If you are, in fact, in a trunk and your mouth is bound in some fashion, knock twice, Dave.
Or if you're actually going to fall asleep on us when you're on hold, maybe give us some snoring to know that you're okay.
I mean, this goes to show you that Dave's not a regular. I mean, if
at least Jimmy had the courtesy to snore for us.
Mr. Jimmy knows how to snore to let us know that he's still alive. Dave, I'm going to put you on hold, my friend. Hopefully we'll get you back in just a moment. Michael and Jim and Elaine and Steve will come to you in a moment as well. But first up, it's the Dentist Newscast, as I like to call it, because I like dad jokes. It's Ken Weaver and Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 2:30 on the dot on Election Day 2024. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And again, we've got that stalled vehicle backing things up eastbound East Loop downtown. That vehicle stalled in the center lane there at Shelby Avenue. Full forecast in 5 minutes. Election 2024 voter turnout in Nashville said to be heavier than in 2020, but not as much as in 2016. The FBI says it's opened a command center in Nashville to respond to any issues like fraud or violence. The agency said earlier today online hoaxes are out there, specifically a fake news clip falsely reporting that the FBI stated that Americans should vote remotely due to the high terror threat at polling stations. Voting hours have been extended in a Pennsylvania county after a malfunction prevented voters in Cambria County from scanning ballots. Polls there are going to be open until 9 o'clock Middle Tennessee time tonight. That's 10 o'clock over there in Pennsylvania. And in Arizona, elections officials say things are going smoothly, but it may take some time for them to get official results. And Secretary of State Adrian Fontes says day of voting results will take a couple of more days.
When you see those 8 p.m. numbers tonight, many of our counties are estimating that we'll be at about 55% of our total. That will not include election day voters, and it will not include those voters who turned in their early ballots today. or within the last day or so.
Yeah, official results aren't expected in Arizona for at least another 10 days. Let's check in with Ian Panel. He's at the foreign desk. He says nations and people around the world are watching America today.
China has no official position but prefers stability. And I think that probably means Harris. A Trump presidency, of course, would mean tariffs that would further hurt a slowing Chinese economy and a potential trade war. And, of course, questions remain, I think, about how far either candidate would support Taiwan.
That's Ian Panel reporting from London. And that's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
At some point over the next several days, the election will be done and we'll know a victor. But your medical issues may continue. Your personal issues may continue. And if so, and if your issues involve something that the Tennessee Men's Clinic can solve, then I need to encourage you to go ahead and schedule that appointment. The Tennessee Men's Clinic is here for you, gentlemen, and it's time to get a solution to whatever issue you might be going through that prevents you from having the energy levels that you once had, that might prevent you from bedroom activity as well. If you find it difficult to, dare I say, perform, then get with the Tennessee Men's Clinic and let's handle this situation. The Tennessee Men's Clinic will give you a diagnosis. They'll analyze your situation, take a little blood work, see if your T levels are where they need to be. And if not, they're going to get them back up to where they need to be. They're going to find a solution for your issue. And they have a solution for you at the Tennessee Men's Clinic, whatever that might be. TennesseeMen'sClinic.com to find out more information, or go ahead and schedule an appointment. 2 locations, one's in Franklin, the other has been around since 2014 in Midtown. Tennessee Men's Clinic. Call at 615-208-9090, 208-9090. Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Men of Valor. Men of Valor offers a wonderful opportunity for those of us who want to invest in our communities in a positive way to affect real change in those communities. I understand that we feel like we need to have a tough on crime approach, and we certainly should have a tough on crime approach, and Men of Valor does as well. They understand that men that commit crimes against our communities and against our state, they deserve to spend time as punishment behind bars. But when they come out, what type of men are they going to be? Men of Valor invests in our future by investing in what type of man will come out of prison, because 90% of them that go in will come out. And sadly, about half of those men that come out will go in again, unless Men of Valor intervenes. And when Men of Valor does intervene, they have a less than 10% return rate. Less than 10% of their they turn a 50% return rate into a less than 10% return rate. That is an incredible return on investment. And with no men in prison, we're not spending our tax dollars on additional prison resources. Instead, spending it on roads and other things in our communities. Men of Valor needs you, whether it's through donations, job partners, Bible study teachers, mentors that disciple men on a day-to-day basis. They desperately need more of you to help them continue their mission. Will you help? MOVministry.com. That's MOVministry.com for more information about the wonderful organization that is Men of Valor. Yes, last evening, Donald Trump responding to the big endorsement.
Just received word about Joe Rogan's endorsement. He's a fantastic guy, and it's a great honor to receive it. Thank you, Joe, very much.
There's Donald Trump responding to Joe Rogan's endorsement last evening. I wish it was a week earlier. I thought it was a fabulous conversation with Joe Rogan and Elon Musk last evening. Here's the upshot. Here's the final argument from Elon Musk. And it was the final argument that I started the show with at about 12:05 this afternoon. Listen
I'll
in.
say it again, man. I think this is the last election. If Trump doesn't win, this is the last election.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think people, and a lot of people are waking up and realize that have been lifelong Democrats. Guys like Bill Ackman, guys like Chamath.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, Tulsi Gabbard switched over to the Republicans.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of people who their whole life they've been left-wing, and they realize, like, I can't do this anymore.
You and I used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
It's nuts, man. If the Dems win this election, they will legalize enough illegals to turn the swing states, and everywhere will be like California. There will be no escape.
That is so insane.
This is the final. This is it. This is the last chance.
Has anybody tried
and
to
I
push
just want to,
back?
like, go out and vote. Vote like your life depends on it. Vote like your future depends on it, because it does.
It's Elon Musk and Joe Rogan. Elon was about to ask, and he asked later on in the interview, has anybody pushed back on you on that analysis? And I would challenge you to push back on that. Tell me how he's not right. The Democrats have been importing illegal aliens, and they're insisting in these swing states that illegal aliens be allowed the opportunity to vote. They want to convert illegal aliens into voting alien residents of the United States of America. And if they do so, and if they convert the swing states, the 6 or 7 swing states, they've been actively importing them into the swing states. Why? Why there specifically? Elon knows. He's not an idiot. Elon knows. You convert those swing states, you don't have to worry about it. So will we have an election 4 years from now? Yeah. Will there be any reason to talk about it? No, because 4 more years of importation of votes and insistence that we absorb these individuals into the fabric of the United States of America. I'm telling you, if Kamala Harris wins, the only thing that we'll have is the United States Senate. Because I think the House will flip to her, too. The only thing we'll have is the Senate. And I suppose, to a lesser degree, the United States Supreme Court to prevent her from doing extra constitutional things. Michael is next in Tennessee. Hello, Michael. How are you?
How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for calling.
Good. Well, I'm not actually from Tennessee. I arrived yesterday morning from, dare I say it, California. I know, and I can make it even worse. I was a high school teacher for almost 40 years in California. Now, you ought to see what life is like for a conservative teacher in California. I had the opportunity to come out here to babysit my son's dog who lives in Nashville while he's in Japan for 3 weeks because I wanted to spend election night in a state with people that felt like I did.
Well, good for you. You ought to come see us at our big watch party tonight, Michael.
Well, that's how I found you. I was looking for some place to go. I put in a request a couple of weeks ago to Marsha, is it Blackburn?
Marsha Blackburn's having an event, yes.
Where I had to have at RSVP, and I never heard anything back. So I've been looking, and yesterday I went out looking for the Davidson County headquarters. Couldn't reach anybody on the phone, so I took and put it in the map and drove 30 miles and ended up at somebody's house somewhere. I was expecting a storefront with people on phones and that, so I was getting a little frustrated when I stumbled upon your invitation on the radio. So that's where I'll be tonight, but I wanted to let you know a couple of things. First off, I was in the first group at 18 years old when my state went to 18-year-olds being able to vote. First person I voted for, being a young, idealistic, stupid young person, was George McGovern. It wasn't until Reagan the second time that I switched my affiliation after my my state senator grandfather died, from Democrat to Republican. And I have 3 children that are I have 4 children, but I have one in California, one in Virginia, one in Tennessee, and one in Minnesota. And I had to contact all of them and say, please vote for Donald Trump, because my vote doesn't mean anything. My vote in California hasn't meant anything for 30 years. And that's why I took the opportunity to come out here and be with people who thought like I did. California is a lonely place for a conservative teacher.
Man, oh, man. Michael, I look forward to meeting you tonight at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. And I don't, whatever beverage you're drinking, I'm buying you one. How about that?
Well, I hope they've got a good Dr. Pepper on tap.
I guarantee you they do, my friend. I look forward to seeing you tonight, okay?
I will introduce myself. Thank you again for all you do. And, earlier, one last thing. You were talking about the fellow that had to hang up the phone because it was wait. I've been on for about an hour, and I remember thinking when you were talking about it, it's kind of, if I can borrow a phrase from Kamala, you know what? It's the price of democracy. So I'm glad to wait.
Wow. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for calling in. And I mean, man, oh man, I'm reminded all the time we give Californians hell about their state, but these people are refugees, man. They're not bringing it with them. They're running from it. I mean, in so many cases. Michael, I'm going to spend a lot of my time when I'm not on the radio tonight convincing you should just go ahead and move here. Bring those values over to Tennessee and forget about the shaky side, the left coast, as they call it. Jim is next up in MJ. Hello, Jim.
Hey, how you doing there, Matt?
Great, Jim.
I got to tell you, I'm concerned. You talked about earlier your concerns about Pennsylvania.
Yes, sir.
I'm calling about a post a cousin of mine who is a poll watcher there has put on Facebook, where she has seen couple of incidents of machines forcing Democrat votes instead of Republican. This is an area outside Pittsburgh in Armstrong County. She's location is called Mannerdale and East Mannerdale. She writes, on the Mannerdale side, 2 machines did not allow 3 voters to change their votes from Democrat to Republican. The poll watcher on that side caught it. Those ballots were spoiled. The voters were allowed to vote correctly, and the incident was reported to the RNC election fraud hotline. Immediately, an election official showed up, as well as an attorney. One machine was fixed. The other was taken out of service after it shut off on 2 voters. She says this is why poll watching is important. I say amen to that.
Well, I do as well, Jim, and I'm glad we're catching these matters and not catching these matters. And here's what I mean by that. And thank you for the call, Jim. I don't mean to rush or move on from you, but I want to get to as many as possible, and I want to explain this. So we're seeing this in Tennessee and in Kentucky as well, where people go to the polls and they vote through these machines. And sadly, the machines have small – if the machines are the same, and I believe that they are, the machines have a box that says Donald J. Trump on it. And then below that, they say Kamala Harris or whatever. And there's a little bitty box on the side of the bigger box that people try to hit. The machine doesn't really recognize that as the box you have to hit. It wants you to touch the name on the thing. But that little box there in the corner leads people to try to hit it. And sometimes it confuses the machine and it selects something different than the initial selection from the voter. But here's the bottom line. In my voting booth, as in everyone's voting booth, it confirms twice this is how you're voting. Don't print this out until you know that this is how you want to vote. And even if you print it out and you say, oh, my gosh, this is wrong, you go to a poll worker and you can get it corrected. You can spoil that ballot, and then you can correct the procedure. It is up to you to confirm your vote. Don't rely on the machine. So I don't want to hear it, and I love you, and I love Jim. I appreciate you. I appreciate everyone calling in. We've seen it in Kentucky. We saw it in Memphis. We saw it in Nashville. It is up to you to confirm that your vote was properly registered before you leave the voting booth.
When you get your printout, do you check it every time?
Of course I do.
I have to admit, in the past, I've been guilty of not doing that, but the last couple of elections, it's like I look that thing over 2 or 3 times just to make sure.
Because that's your last opportunity. Yeah. And it'll be a pain in the butt at that point, by the way. Don't get me wrong, because they got to go back.
But at least you can still correct it.
But at least you can still correct it. And if you're told that you're not allowed to vote because you're in the wrong voting place or whatever, ask for a provisional ballot, and they should be able to give you one of those. Rick is in Nash next. Hello, Rick. How are you?
Yes, Matt. I appreciate your show,
Sure.
and I just wanted to ask a comment on a couple of things. First of all, why in the world would people that have not gotten their legalization into this country and not have studied our Constitution and everything else be allowed to vote? They're not American citizens. They're here illegally.
Do you know do you know that you're not allowed in the state of California to, not only are they not allowed in the polling places to ask for your ID, you're not allowed to show them your ID. They won't look at it. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's what's happening out there.
So there's crazy things going on. And then the final little comment I had, I was watching the news earlier today, and they say the state of Arizona, the person that certifies the votes, decided not to certify about 130,000 mail-in votes ahead of time. So now it's going to take 7 or 8 days. Have you heard anything about that, to process those 130,000 votes that they could have processed before this election day?
They don't like so let me put this another way then. Hey, out in Arizona, they're opening votes early and they're processing votes early. That sounds pretty bad too, doesn't it?
So I just
they're not supposed to count them up early. They're not supposed to process them early.
Okay. So that so are you fine with that idea that they're not, the mail-in votes, they're not supposed to process them and count them early?
I think you're asking I don't like the idea of anyone in any election capacity counting votes and knowing who's winning early.
Okay, that sounds fine. My thought on it was that it would be a delay, and that's what it's going to be, because they decided to make that decision instead of counting the votes early.
Well, I don't like the delays either, but all of these delays are a result of allowing mail-in balloting. It's a little bit different when the computer has the tally and nobody has eyeballed the computer tally. Now, some would suggest, they're getting in there too, and I understand that suggestion. I understand that suspicion. But I would say that I think it would be worse, in my estimation, if they tallied it early and someone knew who was winning. I don't like mail-in. I'm the wrong guy to talk to about this because I don't like mail-in balloting at all. 5200 says, what keeps a person from voting twice if they don't check ID? They have voter rolls, and once a person votes, they electronically indicate that that person has voted, and so they are prevented from voting again. That's the idea. But there's nothing, if you are allowed to register to vote, if you are an illegal alien, if you do not have a legal right to vote as a citizen of the United States of America, if you get registered, there's nothing preventing you from voting, and you don't have to have any ID to do so. And there's a level of fraud that could exist from people voting in other people's names.
That's what I was going to ask you, is what's to prevent me from voting where I live and then going to another precinct and saying, using your friend's name and saying, I'm so-and-so, I'm here to vote.
Nothing. I mean, that's the point. That's why I don't understand the argument against voter ID except to cheat. 51 after the hour. I apologize. I tried to get to everybody. Steve, we will not get to you. Justin, we will not get to you. We will get to Brian Wilson momentarily. He is setting up in live at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. The big election night watch party is right on the horizon. We'll check in with Brian next on Super Talk. Winding down our portion of the broadcast day, handing off to the drive in mere moments, but big election night watch party coverage coming up starting around 5 o'clock. We expect to see all of you at the Wilson County Fairgrounds, where Brian Wilson is holding court as we speak. Hello, Mr. Wilson. How are you?
Hey, it's a great hall that we're in here. I mean, a fabulous place, and it's starting to look good. I think the doors are going to officially open at 3, food at 5, and if you want to come on down early, that'll be great. Love to have everybody join us here at the Wilson County Fairgrounds. As you come in the main drive, it's sort of over to the right. It's not the main building that a lot of people go visit, but it's a huge hall and plenty of room, and it's going to be a great time tonight.
Do you get the feeling, and you've done so many of these, I've done my fair share as well. I mean, this is kind of, I know that it's the big day and it's the big game, if you will, but it feels like we're just waiting for kickoff. Kickoff happens when we start tallying these votes, right?
That's right. Everybody said, well, what are you going to talk about today? And surprisingly, days like today are sort of hard when you're doing radio because you're just waiting for things to start. I mean, everything has been said. All that needs to happen now is for the counting to begin so we can start the analysis. But, I mean, you know what? This is an election for the ages. As we look back over the history of presidential elections, this one has been so unusual and so bizarre. But here we are. Finally, we have reached the day where we are hours away from getting some answers.
Well, I get that, and I tend to agree with others that have said that. I mean, we always say it, right, Brian? I mean, it feels like we always say, "Oh, this is a big one. This is the biggest one ever."
Yeah, I think this is a huge one.
It feels like
the
so
biggest
important.
one ever. Sure feels that way to me too.
Well,
I agree.
Will you save me a seat?
We have some lovely chairs. If you get here early, there are 3 padded chairs and 1 hard chair.
Oh.
So you got to get here before Mandus, or you're going to get the hard chair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, that's a big deal. I'm on the way, my friend. On the way as we speak. Well, we look forward to Brian Wilson. Brian is coming up in mere seconds, right after Ken Weaver's newscast. Listen, friends, I understand I go back and forth, but I feel like I am representative of so many in the general public. We just go back and forth about what is going to happen. I don't pretend to know. But my gut tells me that Georgia goes Trump, North Carolina goes Trump, and, maybe there's some question about Michigan or Wisconsin or whatnot, but then there's Pennsylvania. Always Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania, the new Ohio. Pennsylvania. As goes Pennsylvania, I believe so goes the nation. Will we find out tonight? Remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, we'll be here for you throughout the evening with Mr. Wilson on the drive. Dan Mandis, Chris Hand, Matt Murphy, Ken Weaver back in the newsroom, Jay Harper out and about in Cool Springs until the late evening becomes the morning. Be with us at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. The drive with Brian Wilson right after Ken Weaver, and Ken Weaver's next. We'll talk to you later on this evening. So long, everybody.